Hi everybody, moving right on with our triangles. We just finished 45, 45, 90. We call them special right triangles. We're going to now move to the other set of special right triangles, 30, 60, 90. And I'm going to say, I wrote it in my notes, it's really important that you watch this and maybe watch it a second time. A lot of the information is going to be new, so you might have to absorb it a second time, okay? Take good notes. What is a 30, 60, 90? We have three different side lengths. The 45, 45, 90 had two similar legs that were the same length. Here we have a long leg, which is opposite the 60 degrees. Really important, 60-degree angles create the longer leg. 30-degree angles create the short leg, or the shorter leg. The hypotenuse, as usual, is opposite the 90 degrees. So that you can write that into your notes. Longer leg, opposite the 60. Shorter leg, opposite the 30 degrees. Okay? So really some good information there to make sure you have. We've got a couple of rules that we're going to apply today. Rule number one. Hypotenuse is twice the length of the shorter leg. So we're going to apply that one pretty soon. But whatever the shorter leg length is, the hypotenuse is twice that. We can double that. In reverse, whatever the hypotenuse is, the shorter leg is half that length. Okay? So that's that piece. Here's rule number two that we're going to want to know. Longer leg, the longer leg, the one opposite the 60 degrees, is square root of 3 times the length of the shorter leg. Okay, so the longer leg is square root of 3 times the length of the shorter leg. So take the length of the shorter leg, multiply it by the square root of 3. You'll see how we do that. My suggestion might be pause the video a little bit. Make sure you've got this information down. The visual, I want you to write down a copy of this. Have this visual in the little space up there near the top. I've given you space for the rules. Now we're going to work on the three examples. There are only 3 examples, but they're new, and I want you to make sure you follow along. So have this information. So example number 1, as it says in the notes, what to do when given the hypotenuse. So for example number 1, we're going to say that the hypotenuse is 8 feet. The hypotenuse is 8. So let's go to our rules. What does rule number 1 say? The hypotenuse is twice the length. So for number 1, we're going to write hypotenuse is 8. And if I wasn't clear, because I didn't go over this part of the directions, it says find all side lengths. That's what we're going to be doing on all the triangles, finding all the side lengths. So the hypotenuse is 8. How do we find the other 2? Well, the short leg is half of the hypotenuse, because rule number 1 says the hypotenuse is twice the length of the shorter leg. So the shorter leg is half of this, 4. And guys and girls, you're always going to be finding the shorter leg first. or you're given the shorter leg. We always are dealing with the shorter leg first, the one opposite 30 degrees. Okay, so the shorter leg is 4. What's the longer leg? Well, what's rule number 2 say? The longer leg is square root of 3 times the length of the shorter leg. So it's going to be 4 times the square root of 3. And we've started to become accustomed to using radicals. If you did the math out on a calculator, 4 times the square root of 3, you would be getting 6.9 on that one. So this is what we get when given a hypotenuse to find the other 2 legs. Let's go to example number 2. Example 2 says what to do when given the shorter leg. So in number 2, this is actually the easiest one. So when given the shortest leg, we're going to say that the short leg is 10. So for number 2, the short leg is 10. So let's go back to our rules. Apply the rules to the situation. Hypotenuse is twice the length of the shorter leg. So it's 20. The longer leg is square root of 3 times the shorter leg. 10 times the square root of 3. And if we do the math out on that one, we'll get 17.3. So if the short leg is 10, the long leg 17.3. If we did Pythagorean theorem, 10 squared plus 17.3 squared, we would get 20 for the hypotenuse, or right around 20, depending on your rounding. You would come extremely close to 20. So that's number 2. Problem 3, folks, is the most difficult. What do we do when given the longer leg? This is going to cause you more work than the other 2. So really follow along with the procedure that I do, and I'm going to give you a new rule. Because rule number 3, sorry Brittany, I know I have some spots on here. I apologize. I know you don't like it when I have that. I'm sorry. Rule number 3 for this, right near the end, is if given long leg, to find short leg, divide by square root of 3. So you're going to probably want to pause, write that in again, because I'm not going to take a lot of time on that. I'm on a time crunch here. I need to get this in under 10 minutes. So if given the long leg, to find the short leg, divide by square root of 3. So for our last example, our long leg is going to be 21. Here's problem number 3. Long leg equals 21. What's the rule say? If given the long leg, to find the short leg, divide by the square root of 3. So, short leg equals 21 divided by the square root of 3. Folks, this is where you have to do what we did in G2. Times it by the square root of 3 over the square root of 3. 21 times the square root of 3 all over 3. Square root of 3 times square root of 3 is 3. This reduces to 7. 21 divided by 3 is 7. So our short leg is 7 times the square root of 3. Our hypotenuse is double. Double this, 14 times the square root of 3. please know